Hello everyone and welcome to this Miradore webinar. Today we will hear a demonstration on GDPR privacy and the requirements in Miradore Online. My name is Sonia Kinsley and I am a marketing specialist at Miradore. Let's have a look on today's agenda. First, we have a demonstration on today's topic presented by Lassi Pekkarinen. If you come up with any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question box of our webinar tool. After the demo, Lassi is here also for a live Q&A session to answer these questions sent. Shortly about today's presenter. Lassi joined Miradore in June 2006 as system engineer and was appointed as senior technical engineer in February 2017. During his years in Miradore, Lassi has also covered other important roles, mainly in the product side. Lassi holds a bachelor in software engineering. Now let's move on to the presentation. So Lassi, here you go.
Thank you, Sonia, and welcome to this webinar also from my side. Okay, so today we are talking about GDPR and how is that related to Miradore Online. So let's start with the basics quickly. I'm sure most of you know these things, but let's cover them quickly. So we are talking about General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR, which comes into effect in May 25th, 2018. And it's a EU regulation which is aiming to protect EU citizens from privacy and data breaches. So when it comes to cloud services such as Miradore Online, GDPR obligates companies they need to disclose what information they collect about individual persons. They need to tell why they are doing so if requested, and then they need to also report that where the information is physically stored. And so thinking about mobile device management, the end users also have rights. They have rights to know that what information is collected about them and also about their devices, for what the data is collected, so for what it's used, and where the data resides. They have also right to request the removal of the personal data. So thinking Miradore Online is designed for companies and service providers to effectively manage the devices remotely. And to do this, administrators usually need information about both the users, but about the devices, hardware, and software configurations as well. This information helps the company then to ensure that the devices meet the organization's security standards and policies. But let's jump into the product side. Let's see what Miradore Online is actually collecting then. So I have here a demonstration site, the dashboard of the site, and let's jump into devices view and see what the data is collected on these example devices, for example. So let's open first the iOS device here. So as you can see here on this page, Miradore Online is of course collecting lots of data, but let's highlight few of those maybe important ones. So here on the main page, you can see that what is the device status. It's showing green, so it's online and active currently, reported some time ago. So you can see also the last seen date and time of the device. It's reporting also here the device location. That's reported only from devices where that is enabled. So as you can see, there has been this location tracking configuration profile deployed on this device. So that's the way you need to enable that on selected devices. This main page also shows details such as encryption status. So here it says it's enabled already, and also the passcode status. So is it set on the device? So in this case, both are okay. And as mentioned, you can see here also the configuration profile deployments, which are the way the administrators can control the device settings as well. So it's good to see the history and what has been configured and what is not. But okay, let's jump into the applications tab here. This sample device doesn't have much installed, but as you can see here, it's listing all the installed applications. So it's listing also the company applications, but also the private applications. Next one up is the inventory tab, which means the hardware inventory side. So on this page, you can see details about the hardware, some identification of the device, for example, IMEI, serial number, MAC address, and such other IDs the devices have. You can see also the SIM card information that's reporting the ID number of the SIM card, but as well as the phone number in case the SIM card is reporting that out. So that setting depends on the SIM card itself. Then there is details about the operator network, for example. So you can see that what is the mobile operator network the device is currently connected. And also many other things, including, for example, that location information, that if that's enabled the collection. Okay, so this was iOS device. Most of the platforms report similar things. There are slight changes between those, or variation between that, but let's see some specific things from the Android device. Let's move to the one column view. I'm scrolling to the end of this list, so there's also some additional things about the Android devices. So, for example, from Android devices, you can see also the network usage. So for both mobile and Wi-Fi networks, you can see also Wi-Fi information, so the Wi-Fi networks configured on the device, as well as the mail for exchange profiles or accounts configured on the device. But this is only for Samsung Knox enabled devices, so it's not for the others. But okay, so that was the device part, quickly highlighting some of the details out of that. But let's see also the users, so end user data. So jumping into the users view, and let's open the one sample user page here. So on the user page, there's lots of this manually input data about the user, which is needed to identify the user and link the devices to specific end users as well. So there's email address, first name, last name, middle initial, also phone number if that's added. You can see also that what are the linked devices to this user. But additionally, there are these other tabs, including accounts, which are used to automate the configuration profile deployment. So for example, if you want to automatically deploy user-specific email accounts into the devices, you need to have this data stored here. So for example, here, to automate the mail for exchange configuration profile deployment, there needs to be some details about the user's email address here. But okay, I mentioned that the end users can request to see what personal data is stored about them into the system. And to make this easier, we are currently working on a solution soon to be released. So this is not yet public, but it's going to be released probably on next week already. So there's a new functionality on the user page actions, which is then making it easier to export the user data in case the end user requests the list of stored data. So let's run this action here. So it exports the data in JSON format. It's machine readable format required by the GDPR rules, but you can see also inside the file, for example, using Notepad. So let's open that. It seemed to open that to my second screen here, so I'm scrolling or dragging the list here. So you can get this kind of report out of the system, which lists the end user details then stored into the system. So that's making the admin life easier in case these kind of requests are coming in. So this is soon to be released feature. You will see soon in the release notes. But okay, how about then if the end user requests that I want my data to be removed from the system? So what to do then? First of all, the user should contact the Miradore Online site administrator. So basically the company administrators that I would like my details to be removed from the system. As we know, the data is used for managing the devices and it has lots of uses in that sense. So then it's up to the company to discuss with the user that how to proceed from there, and do they have some kind of policies that managed devices can be used only if certain things are accepted by the user. But that's up to the company internal thing then. But if it's the case that the end user data needs to be removed, currently how it goes is that the company administrator can contact Miradore Online support and tell our support the end user details or end user identification, in that sense that we can then help cleaning away all the data from the databases. As this is not maybe the best solution, we are currently working on another feature that can then be used through the Miradore Online user interface to remove the data. So once we get that released, then the company administrators can do this removal by themselves as well. But that's also something we are currently working on. Hopefully we are getting it released soon. Okay, let's move to next section or next topic, which is we've seen what data is collected, but let's see what is not collected then. So let's move to this list of things that we do not collect and do not use for anything. It's under subject client permissions, because many times you see that, for example, Android client is requesting lots of permissions to the device once you're enrolling the device. So it's also explaining that why those permissions are requested. So let's see this list quickly through, highlighting the things. So first, asking camera permissions, that is needed to basically collect inventory information about the device camera. So without those permissions, we cannot collect that data. But it's not used to take any pictures or videos with the camera of that managed device. So that cannot be done, even though those permissions are granted for the client. Next one, contacts. Again, simply if you want to use the feature to deploy contacts to the device address book, for example, those company contacts, you need to have this permission granted to the client application. If that is missing, then that deployment cannot be done. But what this permission is not used for is it's not used to collect any kind of information about the user contacts from that device. So it's not reporting those anywhere. Next one, files and photos. This is quite essential permission for many actions. First of all, the client itself, it's also logging its operations to a file for troubleshooting purposes. In case there's a problem with the device, it's easy to then send this log file to our support, and that's helping a lot in the troubleshooting. But also using the, for example, file and application deployments, you need to have permission, or the client needs to have permission to write to the device memory. Without that permission, it cannot store anything on the device. But even though it's saying also photos, and that it's not used to access any personal files or photos on the managed device. So that's something we are not doing anyway. Okay, then three more permissions. Location, simply if you want to track the device location, it has to be granted the permission to the client application. But as mentioned, it's not collecting anything by default, but the administrators has to enable that feature on the device by deploying that configuration profile. Next one, phone calls. It sounds a bit funny to have access to phone calls, but actually that's needed to read out the device's IMEI code and phone number and similar identification details from the device. So without this permission, it's difficult to identify the device at all. But Miradore Online cannot make any phone calls on those managed devices, and it does not collect any kind of phone call history from the device. So that's not done with that permission. And last one up, text messages. That's needed mainly to, if you are using the SMS enrollment option, which is sending the enrollment details as an SMS message. So on Android devices, that message can then be read automatically, and then the client is able to configure itself without you typing in all those credentials, for example. So if you deny that permission, then you cannot use that SMS enrollment option on your Android devices. But it's not used to read any kind of content out, not to read the text messages of the end user, or it's not sending any text messages from the managed device. So that's out of the question. Okay, let's move to next thing, which is the data location. As mentioned in many of our blog posts, Miradore Online is currently hosted in Germany on a Microsoft privacy-focused cloud. So it resides within European Union. And why Germany? That's especially that Germany has really strict legislation what comes to this privacy and data security. So, for example, even the Microsoft personnel, even it's stored in their cloud, they cannot access the data or have physical access to the server space without supervision from the German data trustee. So that's stored in a secure place that way. But okay, that's almost everything I had. If you want more information, please find some documents from our website. For example, the privacy policy, terms of service. Those define many of these security and privacy related things on Miradore Online matters. And there's, for example, documentation about this inventory information which is collected by Miradore Online. So that's also accessible. You can find that through our website and the support resources in there. And if you have any further questions or concerns on privacy or security matters, please do contact our privacy officer. There's the email address, or you can use the contact us channel through the website, for example. So we are happy to answer your questions regarding these matters. But okay, that's all I had in mind. I hope I was able to provide you useful information, and then let's move ahead. So Sonia.
Yes. I'll just put my screen. Okay. Yes, thank you, Lassi, for your presentation. Now it's time for the Q&A session. And we have already 2 questions from our attendees. And I would kindly ask you or our data protection officer, Lassi Vento, to reply me to these questions. The first question is, can an end user make a request to remove his or her personal data directly from the Miradore Online support?
Hello, this is Lassi Vento again. So if we get straight request from the end user, we will always, or the Miradore support will always contact the administrator, or then, and the request need to come from the site administrator. We are not editing or deleting or removing any data if the question is, or the request is coming from the end user, but we always need to get that from the site administrator.
So it will be then a verified request, and I guess as the site administrator or the site owners they are the record holders as well in this case. So
okay, thank you very much.
I believe there was one more question coming in.
Oh yes, just a question a minute ago. Okay, so the question is, the other thing would be about how to split the data on a device so personal data is separate to business data, similar to Samsung Knox platform.
Yeah, I believe that's a good question. There are some solutions for that already. So, for example, on Android enterprise devices, if you are using that work profile that is doing this kind of isolation between the personal content and then the company content. So the company content resides inside that isolated container. And I believe for the iOS, we are also trying to provide, for example, this secure email solution, so that it would be doing the same kind of isolation for the email side. But that's a good question. We could also take into our development and maybe get that documented. That how does it work? Did you have something to add, Lasse?
Yep, not at the moment, but yes, work profile is working on the Android, and secure email is coming soon also to iOS. So those are those two things, as you said. I think that there is in the support side you can find some more data for all the information for that, those things at least.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Lassi and Lasse, for your replies. Let's move on. And if you would like to discuss further, ask questions, or give suggestions, you can also contact us on our website. Okay. If there's anything else to add, thank you everyone for participating. Feel free to share our webinar on social media, and we look forward to meeting you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you and goodbye.